Hello and welcome to Story on the Spot. We've got a full house today, as you can see, and we will say hi to all of these guys right after our introduction. Okay, and so this is Story on the Spot. My name is Jim Heskett. Going this way, right next to me, is our first-time guest, Mr. Dave Berens. Hey, Dave. Woo!
Hey. How's it going?
So check it out. Dave writes what he calls Florida fiction or tropical thrillers, and you can go to www.tropicalthrillers.com and get some free stuff. Continuing on over there, Kevin Tumlinson finally got his visa issues worked out and has made his triumphant return to the United States. So welcome back, or should we say bienvenidos, Kevin? I mean,
good to have me.
Good. Directly underneath me here is Mr. Douglas Pratt, coming back for the second straight week in a row. That's douglas-pratt.com. Thanks for coming back, Doug.
Thank you.
This way, Mr. Craig A. Hart down in the corner, and then way back, way over there, through all these other guys, is Mr. R.A. McGee. Bring back Fringe. R.A. is using his pulpit to give fashion advice.
No, the television show, sir. The television show.
I thought you were talking about frilly fringes on.
No, that's not me, man. That's not me. But Fringe, the TV show, is amazing. It should make a comeback.
I never saw it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we doing on this show? On this show, this is Story on the Spot, episode number 26. It's the world's first and only thriller fiction improv game show. And first up, last week winner was Nick, but it's actually 2 weeks ago. So, but that was the story Hot Dogs from Outer Space. Nick really killed it on that one, and it wasn't even close. So,
despite me not being here for like 3 weeks, I still feel I should have won.
Yeah,
that spot last week.
Well, it's a shame that Nick's not here to claim his victory because, you know, as much as he complains about not winning, the week he does win, he doesn't show up. So what's up with that? Yeah, Desiree does say Desiree stuck up for you there, R.A.
Thank you.
All right. So what are we doing on this show? If you're watching, what you're going to do is watch each pitch because we are going to have probably 3 rounds we never had this many people before, but I'm going to put up a story prompt and then each of these guys is going to pitch a story. Then you watching can vote by comment. And then next week we will announce the winner. So you guys ready to get started?
Not in the league.
Kevin's going to be a little rusty, and that's all right. And Dave, since it's your first time, we are going to go easy on you. But Doug, since it's your second time, you get no slack at all.
You get nothing.
No slack at all. That's fine. That's fair.
You get nothing and like it.
Okay, so today we have a bonus word, and that is loquacious. It means talking. So if you work the bonus word into your story somehow, you're going to get one of these, which should be its own reward. But you'll also get a bonus point too.
And that's only if you can remember what that word was.
Yeah. You have to know it. You can't just say a random word. This first round is a story prompt called Alpha Duck. An aggressive duck named Bob in Mansfield, England, had terrorized postman Steve Heller to the point that Heller has refused to deliver mail to the duck's owners until they contain him. Heller said, "The duck started hissing at me and it ran me up the path, snapping its beak. The apologetic owners left a crunchy candy bar as a peace offering for Heller and a note reading, 'He used to be lovely and cuddly. Now he's a vicious sex maniac. Ha ha ha. We have him fenced in and hopefully he won't escape.'" So, Dave, since you're brand new here, you get dealer's choice. You can go first and pitch a story. You can hang back for a little bit, or you can sit out this first round entirely. But the decision is yours. What do you want to do? You want to go or you want to wait?
I'm going to wait. This one,
all right.
This one's stumping me.
That's all right. Just wait till somebody else talks and then steal their story.
I'll wait until I feel loquacious.
Hey. Okay, so who would like to be the first to tell us what's actually going on with this aggressive
duck? I bet it's
duck?
R.A.
I'm happy to go. You know me, man. Sacrificial lamb all day long.
All right's always got something good.
Well, I always have something, sir. Whether it's good or not, it remains to be seen. So, I think that we are. I think we're dealing with a science experiment gone wrong. All right. I think that our duck was originally hatched and reared by MI5, right, in Britain, and they were training him to be an assassin, like an attack duck. Right. The problem is that the doctor who did it, while being a really an intelligent guy, he wasn't very caring. You know what I mean? So he was abusive to the duck. Right. The other problem is the doctor wasn't the best smelling guy. Okay. He was always working hard. Those brainy types, they miss showers and stuff like that. Well, the problem is our duck has had a Pavlovian connection between the smell of like sweaty men and the need to attack, because that's what's been bred into him after all this time.
Who doesn't?
Okay. Listen, what you do in that big bedroom right there is between you and the rubberized sheets, sir. Our mailman, he's always busy. He's always a sweating guy. And the problem is it's triggering those associations. And that's why he's attacking. If the mailman would just take a shower a little more often, we wouldn't have this problem. But he's a Brit and you can't really get on them with the hygiene. So I think we're just going to have to take it how it is.
All right. Thank you, R.A. McGee. So I'll leave the story up here for a few seconds. Looks like Kevin is cracking his knuckles. Kevin Tumlinson,
Yes.
What do you got for us?
I have the winning story pitch for this round. So everyone prepare your fingers to type Kevin and go. So what we have actually is an incident where unbeknownst to us prior to this story, the postman's wife passed away unexpectedly early in her life. But what another fun fact was that she was a practicing Wiccan and had been striking deals with otherworldly entities. And so what she did was, after she passed, her only ambition in life was to give her husband a son. She wanted to give him a child. And so she cut a deal with the devil or with another demon or a high-powered being in the afterlife to return in order to produce a child. And when she produces a child, all these wonderful things will happen for her husband. But the demon was crafty and sent her back as a sex-crazed duck. And so now, every time the postman rings twice, she gets loquacious and attacks him. So
don't give him that for that. Come on, Jim.
Look, I've been got like 4 weeks. I'm coming back strong. Kevin in the comments now.
Kevin has so much stored up.
All right, I think I got this one.
All right, Craig, go right
That
ahead.
clearly was not the winning story, so this is going to be the winning story.
What?
So what is happening here? We have a group of a criminal enterprise, and their idea was, what we need to do is to expand our operations, is to get a group of like all of the smartest people in the world in one place, and they can put their brains to work on figuring out and seeing the flaws in our plans, and we'll be able to take everybody else because we'll just be smarter than they are. The problem is when they gathered all these people together, there were two problems. First of all, smart people smell. And so we're going to have to fix that problem. The second problem was that there were, CRA, you were right. The second problem was that not every smart person wanted to go along with their nefarious plans. And so what they did was, in the basement of this establishment, they have an inventor at work, an evil inventor, who is creating this deodorant that not only conquers the smell problem, but it also has a special additive that when they put it on, it is a mind control drug. And it enters through their skin, and then they follow the dictates of their evil overlords. But they need to make sure that nobody finds out about this. See, but if you put out the obvious protections, like mean dogs or whatnot, people start to wonder what's going on in there. So you know what? What's more innocent than a duck? The problem is that, as RA was saying, and RA was onto something, there was just extra elements to the story. But the duck, it kind of spun out of control, and the duck started making more of a nuisance of itself than might have been than they predicted, since they wanted to keep this low key. And now the cover is blown. But that's part of the actual information that the news story didn't give you, because they are indeed under the thumb of this criminal enterprise as well. And so they're being the editor is on the payroll as well, so he can't tell you the whole story, but that's really what's happening here.
I love the idea that there's, I could just see a scene with the criminal's mentor who's like, no, you don't want to get a pit bull to guard the warehouse. That's too obvious. You want to hide in plain sight. Get a duck.
They're smart, not necessarily practical.
All right.
Also, the duck's name is loquacious.
No, you don't. Not going to give you that one. Dave and Doug, it is down to you two.
I think I got it for you, because this is really the winner here.
So after hearing those pitches, he's like, okay, well, I'm not as nervous about this anymore.
Dave just gonna leave.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
I can't be associated with this.
No, Dave, don't go.
That website was tropicalthrillers.com. See you later.
Hey.
Peace. All right. Well, I mean, I think what this really is more of a suspense that's going on with this duck. I mean, this duck, it dates back to earlier in this duck's life, which about 6 months earlier, because ducks don't live very long. But the duck had a wife, and little Georgette was the duck's wife, and they had a little brood of ducklings that followed her around. And then one day, they went missing, and Bob has been searching for Georgette and his ducklings all over the yard, because he doesn't go very far. But he has looked everywhere for them, thinking that they're there. And every day, this postman walks by, and he gets a hint, just a whiff, that reminds him of the odor of Georgette. And he chases after this postman every day, and he's quacking at his loudest, and basically just screaming, "Where is my wife? Where is my wife?" And the postman, who at present we don't know whether he's to blame or not, but he is denying everything and running away and turning to the owners, telling them that the duck is crazy, that there never was another duck in this yard, and and so the whole thing is this poor duck trying to find his family. And unable to, and only knowing that the postman is probably to blame.
He's like,
so would you say that Bob the duck is quacking up? Is that what you said?
He's quacking
we
up.
went sort of Alfred Hitchcock meets Animal Farm there.
Yeah, it's a little bit like Duck on a Train kind of thing. So.
The Duck on a Train. There's
like
our
Shutter Island.
Title.
That's
Duck on the
right.
Train.
Duck on a Train.
All right, now Dave Berens, you
Okay.
Do you have a pitch?
I have a pitch.
All
I have a
right.
Can't
pitch.
do
Great.
worse.
You
Guys,
can't. Yes, you
I
can't.
feel
do
good
worse.
now. I feel really good about my
We set that bar really, really low.
what we. I appreciate you guys starting me off like this. What we've actually got here is more of a Stephen King type story. What's happening behind the doors of that house is the transfer of consciousness from children that they find are supernaturally gifted in telepathy, telekinesis, that kind of thing. But they don't want those children to get away. So what they do is they transfer this consciousness into a very harmless and hard to escape animal, which is the duck. But what they accidentally did was they named this duck Bob. Bob is actually Bobby Heller. Dun, dun, dun. And if you go back, you'll see the mailman's name is Steve Heller, who just 6 months ago lost his son. His son disappeared out of his room. They have no idea where he is, but he has no idea of the connection. So the duck runs out. He says, "There's my dad." And he runs at him and he's attacking him and he's loving on him. And he thinks, "Oh my gosh, what is wrong with this duck?" They have no idea that it's his long lost son. And the owners are like, "We got to get rid of this mailman. He's obviously crazy. He's onto us. So we'll give him a crunchy candy bar," which always works to turn people away. So what we've actually got here is poor Bobby Heller trying to escape the grips of his evil captors who have transferred his consciousness from the body of a boy into a sex-crazy duck.
Very nice. Thanks, Dave.
If that doesn't win, I'm not coming back. So I don't know.
So, okay, now if you're watching now, you can vote for your favorite pitch, and you see Kevin demonstrated how you would vote.
That's how you vote. So I've got one.
All right. So while everyone is,
I
like the
classic
hashtag Find
Marvel
Georgette.
Comics no prize.
all right.
Find
So
Georgette.
this next round is another character plot twist. Now, for our new guys, here's what we do. You're going to pick one from the character list, one from the plot list, and one from the twist list. And then you'll tell me so I can write them down. And then you will spin a story based on that. Now, I think probably the fairest way to do this is to start with Dave. And then Doug, and then the other guys can fight it out amongst themselves. So, Dave, what's your character? Actually, let me read them. Let me read them first.
Okay.
I keep forgetting to do that. Character: a pothead dog catcher, a punchy pro wrestler, a nosy neighbor, a retired chess master, and a porn movie cameraman. The plot is to plan a bake sale, to find buried treasure, to do a backflip, to escape the in-laws, or to write a song. And then the twist is that the character is also a nudist. It takes place in the 1800s. The entire story takes place in 1 minute. The character is also a zombie, or the character wins the lottery during the story.
Now, do I choose one of each up front right
Yep,
now?
one each up front. Yep.
Okay. All right. We're going with pothead dog catcher. Of course, we are going to find buried treasure, and is also a zombie.
Okay, so Dave Berens is about to tell us a story about a stony dog catcher who is trying to find buried treasure, and he's also a zombie.
First of all, obviously, most dog catchers are potheads because that's got to be the worst job in the world and probably pays next to nothing. Therefore, this guy is on a hunt to get more money because he's obviously out of pot. So he is going around in a dazed and confused, as it were, trying to find buried treasure. So everywhere he goes, he sees that the dogs have dug holes into yards where they have been, and he thinks in his confusion, his delusion, that these dogs are onto something and they know where treasure is at all of these houses that he's going to catch these dogs and bring them in. So he goes into the yards and starts digging up the holes, digging up the yard. And one day he digs up, accidentally, he goes onto an Indian burial ground, digs into the ground, and up comes another creature. Turns out this creature is a zombie. So he freaks out and he starts running away, and he goes to another yard that he's been to, and another zombie is coming up out of the ground. He runs from that one, Walking Dead style. They're just lumbering after him. So he goes to the next house. Boom, up comes another zombie. They're all now out of the ground, chasing him around. He's looking for dogs, looking for treasure. He can't find any. He sees all these zombies coming, and finally he gets overwhelmed. He has nowhere to run. They come up to him, and he fully expects that his brains are about to leave his head, and they stop because he looks down and sees that his skin is no longer human, but the petrified gray remains of a zombie.
So
Very nice.
I think the
Thank
title
you.
of that story is Dogged and Confused.
I like
Not
it.
bad. Pretty good.
Or the walking dog.
The Walking Dog.
The walking dog.
That's going on the list. The walking dog.
The walking dog.
Walking dog.
Okay, Doug, now it is your turn. What is your character? Douglas,
Well,
can
I'm
you hear
going
us?
to choose
Oh,
the porn movie camera. You there?
Naturally.
That was a tough one for me.
As you do.
I'm going to go with the
Right, what you know.
Mm.
the porn movie cameraman planning a bake sale, and he's going to win a lottery during the story.
Okay, Doug is going to tell us a story about a porn movie cameraman who is trying to plan a bake sale and he wins the lottery. All right, Doug.
Okay. With Jake, who has just been working as a porn movie cameraman for years. You know, he started out as just filming shorts, and now he's doing the big time, straight up to Pornhub. And he
Filming shorts.
with the
What's that?
Filming
with
shorts.
the pandemic, unfortunately. But he's unfortunately he's lost his job. The pandemic's hit. It's tough out there. Free porn is everywhere, so nobody's paying cameraman to come film anything. And so he decides that he wants to start his own company. He wants to start his own business where he can film porn that he wants to, and with the creative freedom that he feels he deserves to be able to show. But he doesn't have any money to do it because porn cameramen don't make a lot of money to begin with. So he decides that he's going to put together a fundraiser. And luckily, he also happens to like baking cupcakes. So he bakes a ton of cupcakes.
So, just
No, R.A. shortbread.
Shortbread. So he decides to bake all these cupcakes. He's going to have himself a bake sale, and he sets it all up, and he in the brilliance that he has, he actually thought he would put up what his goal is. So he has big posters up of what he plans to make as far as the movies, and surprisingly, the bake sale is a big dud. Nobody comes by, people come by and see it, and they just walk away scared of the cupcakes and whatever. And so he's a little disheartened, and he kind of is about to leave, and he walks away just down on his luck, and he carries the last little tray because he threw the cupcakes around and is upset because nobody bought them. He has 4 cupcakes left, and he decides he's just gonna head back home, and he packs up all his stuff with his 4 cupcakes under his arm and his posters of potential porn movies he plans to make, and he heads off down the road, and he encounters this little old man who's coming back from the store, and the old man comes up to him and looks at him. He's got a little twinkle in his eye, kind of like a knowing grandfather, and he looks at young Jake, and he says, you look down, son. And Jake's kind of nodding along, saying, yeah, it's just tough. I have this dream. And this man said, well, what is your dream? And he goes, well, I want to make porn, creative porn, artistic stuff. And and the old man, the old man just kind of looks at him and shakes his head and then says, well, he goes, I don't have any money. I just I went and bought my last lottery ticket. It took my last dollar to buy my lottery ticket, but I'll trade you my lottery ticket for your cupcakes. And so he trades the cupcakes, and he goes off home, and that night as he's watching the lottery, he scratches it off, and he sees he's won $1,000, and he's ecstatic because $1,000 is enough to make 4 porn movies. And so he immediately goes out and begins looking for his talent and starts setting up to make Duck on a Train and moves forward. And that's the tale of Jake and his adventures through.
What a beautiful, heartwarming story. Thank you, Doug.
Ducky does salads.
There's good in everyone's heart.
Yeah.
Thousands, hundreds of hundreds.
Okay,
Tens
we are
of
down.
dollars.
Tens of thousands of those.
We're down to Craig, R.A., and Kevin. Who among you would like to go
Is our
third?
final one? Are we? we doing this to the bitter end?
We're doing this to
the
Dig in, everybody.
I mean, that was the winner, obviously. I mean, I know.
Right.
Y'all gotta
I'll go.
I have to remember. Okay, so how about I'll do it. I'll pick Punchy Pro Wrestler has to escape the in-laws. In 1 minute.
In 1 minute.
In 1
Kevin's
minute.
going to tell us a story about a punchy pro wrestler who is trying to escape the in-laws, and the story takes place in 1 minute.
Okay. Brock the Brick Manconi is our wrestler. And he's gone through a few too many rounds in his pro wrestling career. Little out there. And so he's over for the holidays, and he just can't stand his in-laws. I mean, they're always nagging him. They're always, when are you going to get a real job? You're not, how come you don't have a belt? Things like that. Why don't you wear pants? And so he decides he's going to make it his mission to make his escape. And he's got 1 minute before Thanksgiving dinner starts. And so he allows everyone to gather around the table. Just as they're about to say grace and thanks for the meal, he picks up a chair and bashes the father, and then dives out the window. And the ending of the story is he's not married, and they weren't really his in-laws. He just sort of invited himself to somebody's Thanksgiving dinner.
And then he turns and he looks at the number on the front of the house and says, "Oh crap!"
Oops.
Okay, Craig and RA, if you want to go, you can. If you feel like the segment's gone on too long, all right.
No, let's do this. I've been sitting here. Let's do this. All right.
Okay,
So
all right.
I want to do a retired chess master.
Okay.
All right. Who does a backflip and is also a nudist. All right.
That is a recipe for adventure right there.
So
we are retired nudist
audition for the
porn guy,
the porn camera guy.
Yeah, he's gonna link up with Doug's guy.
Yes.
When Doug's guy spins through the money.
I mean, a backflip in a porn, that'd be
I
awesome.
could make thousands of dollars.
That's right, dude.
I can make tens of dollars.
So our chess master's name is just Jim Smith, real plain guy from the heartland of America. Let's call him a Hoosier. We picked on Michigan enough. You know what I mean? Let's say he's from Indiana. Go Hoosiers. And he goes over to Russia, all right, plays the biggest match of his life, and he loses to Vasily Andrenko, of course, right? Because the Russians they're juiced up in the Olympics. They're taking amphetamines for their mind. They're just all over it, right? So he loses to Vasily. He comes home, and his confidence is shattered, all right? His confidence is shattered. And what he decides is that I just need to learn how to do something, and I can start the comeback. You know what I mean? Everything I've done lately has been wrong. My pawn to R2 is not working. Nothing's working. But if I can learn, right, how to do a backflip,
what about
I don't
D2?
know if that's the space on the board. D2. There we go. My bad.
R2 and D2.
Perfect. So he every day he's learning. He's learning and he's learning. And eventually he nails this backflip. And his confidence is at an all-time high. He flies back to Russia. Okay. He plays Vasily. All right. Puts him in checkmate. Bang. Everything's over. The crowd goes silent. Vasily's the hometown champ. So Jim stands up and he looks at everyone and he says, "Are you not entertained?" No one laughs. No one claps. So he drops trowel, hits his backflip, and walks off butt naked out of the arena. So.
And Doug's guy comes up and goes, and scene.
That's right. Hey, kid, you want to be in pictures? You ever thought about being in pictures, kid?
Exactly. Now, Craig, all you are left with, you don't have to go, Craig, because you're left with a nosy neighbor who wants to write a song in the 1800s.
I feel like I have to go, right?
Okay. Nice.
Now, I will say that I had the perfect story lined up, and it would have just blown everything away. We would just shut the show down because we would never wouldn't have been able to top it, but everybody took all of my choices. So unfortunately, I won't be able to recite the perfect story.
Naked checkmate.
What are my choices again?
So Craig is going to tell us a story about a nosy neighbor who needs to write a song in the 1800s.
All right. So this guy, he's kind of a down on his cowpoke. He kind of drifts from job to job. His name is Dusty, and he's going through this kind of this area of Texas that's pretty sketchy and known for outlaws. And he's got one thing that's left to his name, and that's a pair of silver spurs. Was going through this canyon. Suddenly he hears the click of a hammer back on a Colt 45 and a voice, "Put your hands up." So he does. "Get off your horse." He does. "Give me your silver spurs." He's like, "Okay, buddy, that's where I draw the line. You can take everything else, take my clothes, my horse, my saddlebags. Please leave me my silver spurs." Well, the bandit chief says, "All right, you want your silver spurs? I'll give you a chance to keep your silver spurs. But I want to know some secrets. There's this town over here called Townville, and I want you to go into this town."
Well done.
Thank you. And there's some secrets about
the great
the
state
mayor
of
and
state.
right in the country of country. The sheriff and the mayor, I know they've got some secrets, but I'm not sure what they are, and I need you to find out what those are so I can blackmail them and hold it over their head so that I can do what I want, and if they come after me, then I tell their story. All right, so what you're going to do, move into town. I'll spot you some money, move into the house next to the mayor, and just poke around in his business a little bit. Try to find out what's going on over there. So Dusty does this. Fast forward, he's set up in his house, and he starts spending his nights looking out the window at the mayor's house. And it turns out the sheriff is visiting the mayor's house an awful lot at very odd hours. So he goes back to the bandit chief and says, "Look, Mr. Loquacious, I here's the details of your demand and what." All right, second time was a charm.
It took a minute, yeah.
"Here's the details. Can I keep my silver spurs?" And the bandit chief says, "All right, you've won." And wait, what was my twist again?
It's in the 1800s.
1800s.
Oh, I've got it covered then. That's the end of the story, folks. That's the end of the story right there.
Hey!
He keeps the silver spurs, goes on his way, and continues to be unable to hold down a steady job.
I remember watching Silver Spurs in the 80s.
Do you remember that plot line? Because that's where it's from.
Ricky Schroeder, right?
I have no idea.
So we're plus half an hour. Do you guys want to do one more?
Let's do it, man. I'm down.
All right, we'll do one more round. This is called Take It to Go. It's a story prompt. 3 men are on the run in Philly after a botched ATM burglary. The men entered a Chinese takeout restaurant and ordered food, then set off an explosive device while they waited that damaged an ATM, but they couldn't remove the cash box inside the machine, police said. They escaped empty-handed on foot and bicycle, and the police are still searching for them. No word on if they received their food first. So you got a couple of guys.
They just got bored while waiting. It's like, hey, let's set off a bomb.
that could be your pitch, Craig.
Chinese restaurants is like an hour later, you just want to blow up another ATM.
That's terrible. Okay. Who wants to be the first to pitch us a story about the ATM burglary inside the Chinese restaurant?
I'll go. I don't mind. I'll go first again.
Okay.
All right.
No,
all
I'm
right.
sorry. Go ahead. If you're good, if you got one.
Now go. All right. Go. All right. I want to hear it.
Oh, okay. I don't want to step on your toes, man.
I know.
So I think that we're dealing with, unfortunately, a somewhat topical story regarding the rising cost of insulin. Okay. Now I think that we have a couple of diabetic fellas, right, who are just living in the city together, doing their thing. And
Diabetics.
Diabetics. Yeah.
Diabolical diabetics. I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
And they're living in the city together, and they're just kind of bemoaning the fact that, like, man, we've got type 1 diabetes. Like, we can't even get rid of this, and insulin is so expensive now. we should really think about ways to make money. And they go, all right. So they're walking down the street, says, man, I'm feeling a little lightheaded. Is your blood sugar a little low? Yeah, mine's a little low too. Let's go to the Chinese joint and we'll make some, we'll get some food, right? We'll get some General Tso's or whatever. Well, General Tso's is the only good thing there anyway. So they get some General Tso's and they're sitting there and they're thinking, and one of them looks at the other one and says, hey, do you remember in Pulp Fiction when they were eating and they just decided to just rob the place like right off the bat? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, well, why don't we just rob the place? Let's just rob this place. The one guy looked at the other one and he was like, I don't know, man. Don't they have like different money like Chinese people? You're like, how are we gonna spend yen? How are we gonna spend yen if we rob the Chinese people? And he's like, yeah, you're right, man. You're right. And he goes, but that ATM has got American ducats in it. So let's rob the ATM. So that's what they did. They improvised a little device made with MSG and nail polish. They stuck it all around the lock and they tried to set it off and blow it up. It didn't work. It didn't work, as you could probably tell. So they decided to beat feet. The problem is they ate too much food. They overcorrected their blood sugar. So as they're running, they get kind of lethargic. They kind of lay down and get sleepy, a little touch of the itis, and they kind of take a nap. And that's when the cops get them and roll them up and take them to jail. So it's just, people just trying to do what they can for their health care, man. And really, you have to admire something like that.
Very nice. Thanks, RA. All right, Doug, since you were almost first, do you want to take the second spot?
Sure, let me go. Yes. So
I'm sure I took your story.
Completely. What were the odds? Insulin. I mean, it was. No, this is more of a tale of the competition. This Chinese restaurant happens to have always come in number one in the city with the best egg rolls, and these two guys who happen to run a smaller Chinese place right down the block, and they're trying to, they want to steal the recipe, and so their big plan is to go in and just order the egg rolls and try to, take them home and taste test them, see if they can't figure out what makes them so good. But while they're there, they're not the ones that came in and blew up the ATM. It turned out that this first Chinese restaurant is a, it's a gang hangout for the Tong, and it wasn't an attack on the ATM so much as an attack on the restaurant because they were laundering money through it. So the two guys were there, and they immediately kind of ducked for cover when the bomb went off. And they realized that in all the chaos, they could jump over the counter and steal the recipe for the egg rolls because everybody keeps them right behind the counter. And so they jump over there and grab the recipe and they take off, leaving their egg rolls and their phone number where they called in the order and took off. So it didn't take long for the police to come along and tie that the bomb might have been connected to the takeout order that never got picked up. And so they just tracked down the number and traced them down and found these two men making egg rolls in their apartment and arrested them and accused them. And they ended up going to prison for a crime that really didn't commit, and they were targeted later on for future problems in prison by the Tong. So.
Man, Doug's stories are all depressing. Are you okay, Doug?
I mean,
I don't know. How's the porn movie depressing?
It's like, we're not sure how you made a porn movie depressing, actually. We have no idea.
All right, I feel like I need to go next.
All right, Craig.
I have been called out by Desiree because I forgot the guy didn't write a song in my mashup story.
Oh.
So I'm going to have to rectify that. And what I'll do is by telling the story of the sequel of Dusty. So, Philadelphia is actually a small town in the 1800s out west. And so Dusty, he wanted to keep his silver spurs. And the bandit chief said, okay, I'm going to hold your spurs as collateral. And the secret you've told me just isn't good enough. Nobody cares about the relationship between the sheriff and the mayor. Old hat, who cares about it? You can need something better than that. But I'll give you another chance. I happen, the bandit chief said, to be the I used to work with the Philharmonic out in Boston, and I know every song that's ever been written. I want you to find me a song that I've never heard, and if you can do that, then I will give you back your silver spurs." And Dusty says, "All right, tall order, but I'm going to do it." So he goes back into Townville, and he starts looking around, and all these songs brings back to the bandit chief. Like, nope, heard them all, doesn't work. Finds like, oh, Dusty thinks to himself, I think I know where I can find a song that the bandit chief hasn't heard. So he goes down to the local Chinese place, and he says, "Will you teach me some of your local songs, some from your culture? I don't think that this guy will have heard those." And the Chinese chef says, "No, no song unless you pay." But he's like, "Okay, I can give you my silver spur." And then he realizes he doesn't have his silver spurs because they're being held by collateral by the bandit chief. So,
Please continue. I have to know where this goes.
I've spoken myself into a corner. So, what was the original story? Put the original story back up here for a minute. Okay, I got it. I forgot. So he goes down to the bank and says, "I want to give me a loan based on, and I'll use my silver spurs as collateral." It's like, dude, no, the bandit chief has them. You can't use the same thing for collateral twice. It's like, fine. And I'll just come back here after dark, he thinks to himself, and I'll get into that ATM. Now, an ATM in the 1800s is a little different than what you might think. So what you do is there's just a little crank on the side. So you put in coins and you crank it and it spits you out dollar bills. So what he does is he fabricates these coins. He finds flat stones and feeds them into this wooden ATM machine that isn't sophisticated enough to realize they're not real coins. Cranks it out, gets money, goes down to the Chinese place, pays them for the song, takes the song back to the bandit chief, sings it to him. He hasn't heard it, obviously, gives him his spurs. End of story.
Whew. That was loquacious. To say the least.
That was loquacious.
Nice.
Desiree, did I win a vote on that? Did I actually
We better
win back?
vote for you now.
I cared enough to go back and finish my story, so I get a vote for that story and for this one for tying them all together, right? Just a thought. And I was loquacious while doing it. I'm coming out strong here at the end.
I'll go next. Oh, actually, yeah, I'll go next. Okay. So the reality here is that this isn't actually about blowing up the ATM at all. The guys were interested in the ATM. That was just a distraction. Because unbeknownst to everyone, prior to all this happening, there was a breach of a sort of series of bank codes. And what happened was their inside man stole all of them. And to hide what he'd done, he actually broke into a fortune cookie factory and put the codes on the fortunes in the factory. And all those fortunes went to this Chinese restaurant. So they enter the Chinese restaurant and they know that this ATM is chump change. But if they can blow it up, they'll have the police looking for petty criminals when they are actually brilliant masterminds. So they blow up the ATM, and while everyone's distracted by that, they steal all of the fortune cookies and make their escape. And now they have access codes to thousands of different accounts. They get thousands of dollars for their efforts, and they become quite loquacious about it to their buddies and pals in the underworld, and that leads to their arrest. So.
Very nice, Kevin.
I actually used loquacious the way it's meant to be used. I should get extra points.
Well done. Here. That's just for you, Kevin.
All right.
Distract him with a blowing up ATM bit.
Classic.
I think
All right.
I'm ready if nobody else is.
All right, Dave. I think it's just you, Dave, right?
I think that's
Okay,
you.
good.
Bring us home, Dave.
A dog catcher, a punchy wrestler, and a porn cameraman walk into a Chinese restaurant. The reason they're there is because they all need money, and of course, because they're making a porn film, some Chinese takeout. So they've heard a legend from the 1800s about a singing cowboy who once had a pair of silver spurs. These things are now worth millions of dollars, and they have somehow fallen into the hands of the Chinese family that runs the Chinese takeout down in Townville, Philadelphia. So they go into this place and they say, as a distraction, hey, we need some General Tso's chicken. And the guys go in the back to get it. And they say, where, if we were going to hide the Spurs in this restaurant, where would we put them? Of course, you would put them in the ATM machine. So they've come up with a pipe bomb type thing made of, I forget, MSG and
I said
perfume
nail
or,
polish, but it should
nail
have been like
polish.
soy sauce.
Yes,
you know?
soy sauce and MSG, which is kind of. So they tuck it under the ATM, attempting to blow it up, but they blow it
You guys are
and they
missing
can't get
something
inside the
by not
box.
including duck sauce.
It's got to have duck sauce.
Sex maniac duck sauce.
That's right.
It's the most explosive
Bob
compound
sauce.
That's
in
what the
Bob
bomb
sauce.
is made of.
Bob sauce.
Okay, let's let Dave finish
Bob
the story.
As we know, the little box inside doesn't crack open. They can't get it, so they decide to save themselves to try another day. So they hike out the door. The cops are after them, but they've got a bike, and all three of them jump on the bike and take off uncaught to this day.
Dun dun dun.
Nice.
Thanks, Dave. Nice catching everything
Right.
in.
Good.
So I'm going to put a banner here. Let's see. We've got some recent comments come in. Round 2 to Doug. Desiree says it's okay, Craig. You were redeemed. But then Dave got the vote. Yep. So it had to happen.
I feel like you guys have winners.
So we want to thank Dave Berens for coming. That's tropicalthrillers.com. Did I spell that right? Yeah.
Yep.
Also, if you'll go to storyonthespot.live, that's where you can find all of our websites. And
Hey, not to interrupt before we go.
What's
I
up?
just want to say Dave is also an amazing cover designer who made the covers for my Blackthorn series, Sanctioned and Rogue and Disavowed. Props to Dave. Shameless plug for my own books.
Thank you.
I'll stop now.
Nice.
Yeah. So where was I? So if you go to storyonthespot.live, you can find all the previous episodes and probably future episodes, although I can't predict the future. But we really want to thank Doug for coming back. We want to
Thank
thank Dave for showing up first time, welcoming back Kevin and Craig and RA. I guess it's cool that you're here too. Thanks, everybody. Have a good week, and we'll see you next time.
Everybody.
Yeah.